Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Mr. Lect10ANN, lecturer in Computer Science, Institute of Computing, Cohort, University of Science and Technology, Cohort. I am the instructor of course in Data Science, CS 3 to 5. Today I want to deliver lecture number 10. The topic is Artificial Neural Networks. So this is the recommended reference book, Introduction to Machine Learning with Python, Introduction to Machine Learning. This is the block diagram of artificial neural network, how it works. It takes input and then process it using some activation function and then produce some output. We will discuss each steps in the coming topics. So this is the outline, history of an artificial neural network. Why artificial neural networks? How do an artificial neural network works? In artificial neural network, what is this? And then examples and last some summary. So history of an artificial neural network stems from the 1940, the decade of the first electronic computer. However, the first important step took place in 1957 when Rosenblatt introduced the first concrete neural model, the perceptron. So Rosenblatt also took part in constructing the first successful neurocomputer in the Mark I perceptron as well. So this is the history starting from 1950, and then perceptron derived in 1958, and then multi-layer perceptron introduced in 1960, and then from this multi-layer perceptron Boltzmann machine 1984 is introduced. Big propagation perceptron 1974, and then modified big propagation perceptron 1986 to 1980. This is the complete background history about the artificial neural network. Since then the research artificial neural networks has remained active, leading to many new network types as well as hybrid algorithms and hardware for neural information processing, like deep learning concept also become introduced using these artificial neural networks. So why artificial neural networks? There are two basic reasons why we are interested in building artificial neural networks. Technical viewpoint is, and the another one is biological viewpoint. By technical viewpoint, some problems such as character recognition or the prediction of future states of a system required massively parallel and adaptive processing. By biological viewpoint, artificial neural networks can be used to replicate and simulate components of the human or animal brains, thereby giving us insight into the natural information processing concepts. So how do artificial neural network works? An artificial neural network ANN is either a hardware implementation or a computer program which strives to simulate the information processing capabilities of its biological example. ANNs are typically composed of great number of interconnected artificial neurons. The artificial neurons are simplified model of their biological counterparts. ANN is the techniques for solving problems by constructing software that work like our brain. So how do our brain works? Our brain is a massively parallel information processing system. Our brains are a huge network of processing elements. A typical brain contains a network of 10 million neurons. So what is mean by artificial neural network? An artificial neural network consists of a pool of simple processing units which communicate by sending signal to each other over a large number of weighted connections. So, a set of major aspects of parallel distributed model includes a set of processing unit cells, a state of activation for every units which equivalent to the output of the unit, connections between the units. Generally, each connection is defined by a weight, a propagation rules which determine the effective inputs of a unit from its external inputs. An activation function is used which determine the new level of activation based on the effective inputs in the current activations. An external input for each unit. A method for information gathering the learning rules. An environment within which the system must operate, providing input signal and if necessary error signal as well. So computer, what are the main difference between computer versus neural networks? So standard computer contain one CPU while neural network contain highly parallel processing. Standard computer fast processing unit while neural network slow processing units. Reliable units while it is unreliable units. Static infrastructure while the neural network best feature is the dynamic infrastructure. The building block of neural networks are the neurons. Basic themes is this. In technical system we also refer to them as unit or node. Neuron is called as unit or node. So basically each neuron receive input from many other neurons or from the output environments, change its internal state using activation function based on the current input, sends one output signal to many other neurons. Like neurons get inputs, then after using activation function, it change the internal states of the activation and then produce some output. So the output signal may need to send to the many other neurons, possibly including its input neurons, recurrent networks. So information is transmitted as a series of electric pulses, impulses, so-called spike. So the frequency and phase of these spikes encode the informations. In a biological system, one neuron can connect it to as many as 10, 100 other neurons. Usually, a neuron receives its information from other neurons in confined area, its so-called receptive field. So, neuron, the fundamental signaling or computational unit, is called as neuron. Synapses, the connection between neuron is called as synapses. Layer, neuron organized into two layers, extremely complex, around 10 power 11 neuron in the brain, each with 10 power 4 connections. So this is the structure of neuron. Then writes inputs, this take inputs. Okay, cell body, which is or stroma, which is called the processor of the neuron. Synaptic, links between two neurons is called as synapses or synaptic. This is called synaptic. Axon, the output axon from another cell, output is called as the provided by the axon procedure. So a neuron is connected other neuron through about 100 synapses, 10,000 of synapses. Means one neuron will be connected with other neuron using the synapses. A neuron receive input from other neurons. Input are combined. Once input exceeds a critical level, the neuron discharge a spike. So an electrical pulse, they travel from the body down the axon to the next neuron. So specific critical levels, when it received this level and going above from this level, the neuron discharge a signal, a spike, which forward from the through axon to the other neurons. So the axon ending almost touch the dendrites or cell body of the next neuron. So this is the axon, this is the axon which touch the body of the new neuron or dendrites. Transmission of an electrical signal from one neuron to next is affected by neurotransmitters. So neurotransmitter are chemical which are released from the first neuron and which bind to the second. So it's released from the first neuron and going toward to the second neuron. So this link is called a synapses, which share the signal from one neuron to the another. The strength of the signal that reaches the next neuron depends on factors such as the amount of neurotransmitter available. So this is a biological neuron, dendrites. This is the stroma or body of the neuron. We are when reached from critical level, the nets discharge a spike, a signal, which will be shared by the axon to the another neurons. While artificial neuron, this is the inputs, okay, and rights, and this is the weights with these inputs, and this is the stroma or body where all inputs are combined, and this is the activation function which convert the shape of the signals and then giving to the output to another neuron. So how it works? Now let us have a look at the model of an artificial neuron. This is a single neuron. This is an inputs. This is the inputs, and this is the weight of each inputs. This is the summation unit, or stroma, and this is the transfer function or activation function, which process on this combined result and then provide output to the other neurons. Output is fed to other neurons. Like this. This is an input x1, x2 up to xm. These are coming through these neuron synapses and combines here like x1 plus x2 plus x up to xm, which is equal to y, and these here activation function is applied and then going toward to the output, which is y. So not all inputs are equal. Sometime x1, x2 and 3, then we use some weight to combine to normalize these inputs, like x1 multiplied by weight 1 plus x2 multiplied by weight 2 plus xm multiplied by weight m. These weights are not maybe same. These are different, depends upon the values of the inputs, and then they are summed. xi means x1, 2, 3, and wi corresponding weights is equal to y. Now not only the sum is completely output, sometimes we want to change the shape of the signal, then there will be transfer function or activation function is used. So these are the inputs with weight, and then summation. After that we use some activation function which change convert the sum into the output. So the signal is not passed down to the next neuron warband. The output is a function of the input that is affected by the weight and transfer functions. So let's suppose these are the inputs. These are the inputs which is connected with different weights, and these are combined and then sum. After sum, activation function is used, some output will be created. Same is the case from x2, sum is used and then activation, same for xm. After these some results output are combined, and then again one transfer or activation function is used and then provide to the proper result. So the output is a function of the input that is affected by the weight and transfer function. So this output is affected by the weight and transfer units. So how the weight and transform are work? Feeding data through the nets, how we can feed the results. So this is the inputs 1 and this is the output inputs, means x1, x2 0.5, x1 is 1. This is the weight 0.25 because there is no, and this is the weight minus 1.5. So this is connected with this. So how we can get the hidden layer? This is called input layer, this is called output layer, this is called this hidden layer. How we can get the inputs for this neuron or this node? So this is the formula. So 1 input multiplied by its weight 0.25 plus 0.5 is input multiplied by its weights minus 1.5. So this gave us minus 0.5. So this is the value of e power x. So 1 divided by 1 plus e power x, we are x is equal to 0.5, which gave us this put. So the result of this hidden layer network will be 0.3775. So weight setting determine the behavior of a network. How can we find the right weights? It is an important question. So 3 type of layer is used, which is called input layer. This is called as hidden layer, and this is called as the output. Through input layer, we get some input from the other neuron or from the environments, and then hidden layer combine these neurons, and then their weights are combined, and then hidden layer will be executed. After that, on hidden layer, some activation function is used, and then providing some output. So continuous process of artificial neural network is the continuous learning procedure, how it can get learned. Continuous process of trial, processing an input to produce an output in term of n, compute the output function of a given input. Trials, evaluation, evaluating this output by comparing the actual output with the expected output. Adjust if output and inputs are not matching, then how we can do, then we adjust the weights. So weights will be adjusted. After that, the output will be, expected output will be more linear to the actual output. So this is exclusive OR example. These are the inputs, input layer with 2 neurons. These are the hidden layer with 3 neurons. These are the output layer with 1 neuron. So set initial value of the weight randomly, means 1 or 0.5 or 2 and 1. Input truth table of the exclusive OR with 2 ones are combined, then its result will be 1. So read input example 0 and 0. Compute an output example is this. Compare it is to expected output is difference 0.605. So modify the weight accordingly. Loops until condition is met. Condition certain number of iteration, condition error threshold. There are also some design issues in the artificial neural networks. Initially weight, small random value, start initial weight from the small random value, sigma minus 1 and 1 or in between minus 1 and 1. So again, the issues of transfer learning, transfer function, how the input and the weights are combined. This is important, and then produce to output. So error estimation, how we can find the error, that while the actual output is so many differ from the predicted output. So if error is coming, then it is the main possible solution of to remove this error using a weight adjustment technique. To adjust the weight means to normalize the weight. After that, input or actual output and then predicted output will be minimum difference. Number of neurons, to add or remove number of neurons. Data, it is also a difficult design issue task. Data representation, size of training set. Can a neural network, if the hidden layer is less and the size of the training set is large, then how it will be possible to adjust all these problems. So today in this lecture we discuss the basic idea about the artificial neural networks. that how artificial neural network works as compared to a biological human artificial biological or human brains. The main themes of the artificial neural network is to simulate the human brains. So after that we discuss the basic structure of the artificial neural network, like input layer, hidden layer, and then output layers. Input layer takes inputs from the other neurons, and then weights are multiplied. Then the hidden layer, these are combined, and then activation or transfer function is used and to produce the output statement. All other networks, some example, one example is also discussed in the next lecture, inshallah. The second part of this lecture, we will discuss how data is input to the artificial neural networks. Actual practical example will be taken, and then we will discuss that how it will be processed using their types like forward propagation, back forward propagation, etc. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you so much.